Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How are you guys doing today? As you can see behind me, the weather reeks. It's not snowy like on the East Coast, but it is a little bit chilly and overcast today. So, yeah, there's that. The weather's not doing all that well. It was nice and sunny the other day. Heck, you could even see the mountains and the snow caps. But you can't see that today. So, oh well, we'll deal with what we have. My name's Leo Naranjo IV, candidate for governor. Most of you are well aware of that by now. Some of you seem not to be aware of that. Some of you folks out there are still like, well, who are you? Never heard of you. Don't know if you can win. Not sure we could pick you. Unless you're from Southern California, that's a no-go. And on and on and on and on. Excuse after excuse after excuse. Let me start off by saying this for some of you folks out there, some of you so-called Christian folks out there. Take that same mentality and how you're basing your judgments on me and ask yourself this question. Who would you support? David or Goliath? And while you're trying to figure out an answer, and I'm upsetting your senses, and maybe casting a question on your religious convictions, let me go ahead and answer that question for you. Using the same mentality that you're basing things about me as a candidate in this race, I already know who you would vote for. Goliath. Because who's David? Some little kid nobody knows? Got a slingshot? Please, you're standing up against Goliath? Warrior of the East? Ha! Hands down victory for this guy. There you go. Moving forward. So, finally got the trash people to show up. Woohoo! Yeah, they're about a day late and a dollar short today. Here's the thing, folks. There's a lot of noise going on right now on the campaign trail. Folks are switching candidacy runs. After all this time, after all this effort, after all this commotion, suddenly people are jumping ship to something different. You've seen them on the list. Mercury's moved to no party preference, mad at the Republican Party, so he switched parties as a sign of defiance, or as a sign of adjectivity, or was he not coerced, but I would say encouraged to do so? He comes out swinging. The first person he swings on is Chad Bianco. And I'm no Bianco fan, you know me. I still think that man is a coward. He's proven that he is a coward every day. When he makes a posting, it shows more cowardice. Hearing from the CRA convention, ooh. I'll forewarn you, if you're a single female, one-on-one with Air Bianco, let the buyer beware. If you're on his staff as a single female, let the buyer beware. Hearing some ugly things about you, old Chad. You'll stand up to a single woman and dress her down, give her the tongue lashing. You'll jump dead in the middle of her chest. If she did something wrong or something displeasing for you, yeah, you'll be man enough to do that. But you're kneeling for the mobs, you're kneeling for the illegals to grant them amnesty. Hell, you even got a liaison as a LGBTQ position in your sheriff's department. What the hell is that? And while we're on that topic, why did you do that? Where's the liaison for the African American community? Where's the liaison for the white community? Where's the liaison for the Hispanic community? Where's the liaison for the Asian community and the Russian community and so on and so forth down the line? Why do they get special community liaison positions in your department? Looks like pandering. Think it in your mind, the photograph as you close your eyes to see Mr. Bianco on his knees once again, and you start to see the picture I'm trying to paint. Doesn't look pretty, does it? Chad Bianco ought to get some knee pads for himself, join the ranks of Kamala Harris, since he's doing so much kneeling for everybody other than the people of this state. Hasn't knelt for them at all. He thinks you're going to give him a vote because he's Chad Bianco. Whatever. Oh, Steve, haven't forgotten about you either. Hearing some nonsense about you in the background. Got a Mercury post out there now. Talk about this big get-together you, Serpa, Markham, and all the other individuals had way back when, last year. How we're going to not attack each other on the campaign trail. That's a bullshit storyline if I ever heard one. That was never what the intent of that meeting was, Mr. Mercury, in spite of your ways of describing it. Because you forgot, you described it in another forum online, and it sure as hell wasn't using the words that you fed Vem Miller. But again, that's your story, so you can stick with it since you're the teller of the tales, because that's exactly what that shit is the teller of a tale. I think you forgot about when you brought Markham on board with that meeting. He basically said you didn't want to hear him whine anymore. That's why the group allowed him to show up to the meeting. That was awful magnanimous of you. Still don't have any minutes from that meeting. What did you actually talk about? What was the plan? What did your agenda say that you were going to have a discussion for? Cheon and Leo Zaki rejected your invite offer. And I was never invited at all. Never invited to a forum like that so that we can all kumbaya get together and make sure that we didn't send nasty grams up and down the line at each other. And you kicked me off to the curb because you never invited me. Well, I'm glad you didn't, because it would save me the time of telling you all formally I would never have attended something like that under those conditions. The optics look bad. It looks like you guys are conspiring to do something. Trade positions, make promises, give somebody an endorsement for the price of. I'm going to support you, but if you win, here's where I'd like you to put me on your governmental staff. Is that what you guys were doing that day? Figuring out who was going to be in place in what position? Because that's what it smelled like. That's what it looked like. Now we have Mr. Serpa, after his little TikTok performance, running for treasurer? Yeah, somebody already challenged you about muddying up the waters and screwing over some Republicans on that side of the house. Well, God bless them. That's your boy. But I wouldn't worry too much about Mr. Serpa being a direct challenge to your candidacies. He's pretty much killed himself off politically. He just doesn't realize it. Probably doesn't even care. Matter of fact, one of those conversations that we had, when we had conversation, wasn't really a conversation, as it was a debate, one-sided argument from his point of view. That man doesn't care about the offices that he was running for. Doesn't care about Secretary of State, Treasurer, Lieutenant Governor, Governor. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if he wins or loses. That was Mr. Serpa's commentaries, which seemed to be getting scrubbed from online. A lot of deletions popping up from old boy Serpa. Wonder why. Mercury's steadfast in his position. He's the only one. He's the constitutionalist. The constitutionalist. Yeah, okay. The military veteran. Not sure if he did one tour or if he did two tours. Correction, I'm not sure if he did one term or two terms. Sounds like, by your own admission, you only stayed in the service for about 8 years. Yeah, it's 2 terms. Doable. You highlight that often enough. Highlight the fact that you helped stop a missile from hitting a ship. That was a first. Did you get a recommendation from that? Don't hear that storyline. We start putting up the fact that we have military veterans running for governorship. Well, you had 3, now you only got 2. The other one's a combat Marine. He tried to vociferously browbeat people into knowing he was a combat Marine. Let's make that clear distinction for you people that thought that was impressive. Number one, combat Marines don't do that. Not real ones. Combat Marines don't try to brow people into their way of thinking. Not real ones. Combat veterans rarely discuss their combat legend because for most of them, they don't want to impart with that vision again, from what I've read. But Mr. Serpa's all gung-ho about impressing the fact that he's a combat veteran. He's killed people. He shot him up with an M60. He knows, because he knows, because he knows. But you failed to tell the people what else you said about those people you were supposedly killing and shooting. That you felt more akin to them than the idiots, morons, and incompetents giving you the orders. Something along those lines, David. You're going to tell stories, tell the whole story. You shave off a little bit. Yeah, you're a veteran. Okay, big whoop. Sounds like you did 4 years. Machine gunner. Woohoo, God bless you. You were in the Marines. We had a discussion about that topic, you and I think you forgot what I told you. If I'd have been your sergeant, I would have drummed your ass out of the Corps because you were an embarrassment to the Corps. How about that? And now you're flying cover for Mr. Hilton. Again. You guys have gone your own separate ways again, but it's awful funny that the whispers I keep hearing in the background are that you and Mercury are still helping Steve Hilton try to get elected. Maneuvering in the background. Quietly undercutting other candidates. Saucing up the field, as they would say. Well, it's kind of interesting that you're doing that. Kind of underhanded, too. But this is politics, after all. That's what people do with politics, right? Pad their way. Those of you witnessing the party CRA convention, some people got to speak, some people didn't get to speak as long as others. Depends on how much you paid. You ever wonder why I'm not getting invited to some of these things? Number one is because I have a different model and mentality than the people that are making these secret cabal meetings, that are making these, let's include governor candidates, we'll just exclude this particular one. Why? Because nobody knows me? Okay, I'll give you that. Because I'm up north? Okay, I'll give you that one too. Nobody likes the persona? Ooh. That's subjective. Nobody likes the mentality? Oh, that's subjective too. Why would you disparage a fellow vet? Probably because you know that this veteran is standing on what he stands for, says what he means, and means what he says. Unlike you grifters that are full of shit, pardon the French. Wannabes need not apply, is what I'm basically telling you. I'm not here to talk on one side of my mouth for the public and then say something completely different privately, as some of you are doing. I'm not here to tell you I'm looking for PAC money and then I'm going to be beholden to the PACs because we're under a contractual obligation where I can't say shit if they do something wrong because they paid their way to get into my program and my campaign. What I have said is if you stick a contract underneath my face and I have to accept your conditions, then that's only fair to understand you're going to be submitted a contract from me as well to submit to my conditions. If you give money to my campaign as a big PAC, your contract basically is null and void and is superseded by the one I'm going to draft up. There are no strings attached to PAC money in my campaign. I'm free to do and say whatever the hell it is I'm free to do and say. And if your group screws up, calling you out will be one of those things I say. That's why I get excluded. That's why nobody's considering me. Where does that leave Joe Blow average? Hearing a lot of people out there getting disheartened. They can't stand either candidate. But we don't know who you are, so we're not going to vote for you either. Well, that's a loser mentality right there. I'm not trying to force people to have conversations. I just ask them, hey, you want to have the talk? Let's have the talk. If this is, what is it that you want as a voter? You'll hear me ask that often. It's not about what I'm about. What do you want as a voter? What are you looking for? What is it you're demanding from your representatives? What is it you expect from somebody that you elect to the office that they're running for? And then here's my platform. Here's what I'm offering. Here's what I'm telling you. I've gone to a few group meetings, a few forums, a few conversations, and let me tell you, I went into one that was straight up near hostile. Leo, it's a waste of time for you to be here. All these people support Steve Hilton. Really? Yeah, about 15 minutes will change that mindset. And guess what? We did. 15-minute conversation. That was with the Merced, California Republican group down there. Thank you very much for hosting me, for having me. Sorry I missed the Christmas dinner function that you had. Link didn't work for me. I'd love to have been down there to talk to those folks some more. But some of them are diehards. Some of them, they try to force the other ones to agree with what they agree with. We have to do Steve Hilton because. Why? You got a man with his own words. I don't care if it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. He thought reparations was a good thing for this nation. For California. Probably would have expanded it, but we don't know what that man would write because the only thing he's ever done for government is write policies. What has he done in government? Like you always challenge me. What have you done in government, Leo? What has he done in government? I've done a lot in government through my 36 years of experience. Thank you very much. What has the United States government bestowed on Steve Hilton, other than the fact they affirmed his wanting to be a citizen? Sure as hell didn't give him 14 years of top secret clearance, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, my counterparts are in the military. They can't even boast that one, but I can. Dahlia Coleman now has a website. Ooh. That's the little girl that got injured by the accident that happened due to an illegal driving a semi, plowing into the rear of their family, causing an accident, crippling her. You've seen the photographs. I've championed those photographs. I posted them out there too. Got a hold with that family. Plan on calling them tomorrow, see if they'd like to have a meeting. What'd Steve Hilton do? Oh, he's got a plan. He's got a plan to solve that problem. He's got a plan. Mr. Hilton, you didn't know diddly jack about Dahlia Coleman until Dahlia Coleman showed up in your neck of the woods. Or you got a glimpse of it on Fox News. Or somebody told you about it and you thought it was going to make some good points for you to score. Where were you when the news story first broke out? I didn't see you online saying anything. I got to go back and dig through all my notes again, pull up the first letter that I wrote out for that family offering condolences of what happened, offering a face that represented government, even though I wasn't a government representative, on how I would go about fixing that problem so that it wouldn't happen again for people like her and her family. Thankfully, the Colemans have a daughter. Granted, the photographs were ugly. She's seriously injured, probably will be for the rest of her life. But her daughter, their daughter, is alive. I noticed, Mr. Hilton, that you're chicken shit ass, pardon my French again, because I thought it was disingenuous of you on what you did anyway, but I noticed that you failed to make any acknowledgement of the Cruz family, who suffered a similar problem with an illegal driver plowing into them. And unlike the Coleman family, their daughter did not survive the occurrence. Their 6-year-old daughter's life ended because of that occurrence. But not only that, the father of that daughter is now laid up in the VA hospital in Palo Alto, recovering from the loss of his limb from that occurrence. The wife, supporting her husband in the hospital bed, putting her health at risk, is surviving that also. She was wheelchair bound for a time. That family has been near forgotten in the conversation that you rushed to highlight Miss Dahlia Coleman. And God bless them, because I didn't separate the two. I joined them together and wrote to both of those families my sincerest and deepest apologies as a representative of California, because I'm a candidate running for the governor's chair in this state. How to fix this problem. I said that when it happened, first time it was reported in Florida back in August of 2025. And I've made the statement and I haven't changed the statement. We need to stop playing games between the state and the feds on who needs to do what to ensure these people can drive safely these massive trucks that they have on the roadways. I think Dahlia Coleman is the only person that thought that Aria Cruz was the only person that got injured? No, but they're the families that were highlighted by the news. And when I contacted the families, what I got from them was not one public official contacted them when it initially happened. Not one. Oh, they might have got a text or a letter or something down the road eventually, I think. But as far as an actual contact by somebody, I was just a candidate and I tried to reach out to them on behalf of this state and apologize for the F-up that we caused as government agents, as government officials. I wasn't even an elected official, but I think I was acting a hell of a lot better than what Gino Gavin was acting as. You made a big splash, you made a big play, okay. Now we hear a lot of the so-called, what they call influencers, the noise makers, and I'm now starting to refer to them as online. These are people that seem to be more in tune with worried about how many clicks they could get to get paid than they are about reporting factual news content. Now, I'm probably making a big swath on most of you, but if the shoe fits, wear it, ladies and gentlemen. Mila Joy is one prime example. She was kissing Steve Hilton's ass and then moved over to kiss Chad Bianco's ass, and then she found out that he was all for amnesty while she was parroting that she wants all of them removed, and now she's no longer a Bianco supporter? Why was that, Miss Mila? Because you were kind of brave to say you want them all gone. That's what you voted for. But Chad was over there talking about amnesty for the ones that don't commit crimes. Now you switched. Now you're back to Hilton? He wants reparations, ma'am. Is that what you want too? Well, he said that many years ago. Everybody's got an excuse of why they're not doing something for somebody somewhere. And that's it. So let me go ahead and cut this off, and getting a signal here. Let me go ahead and cut this off. My name is Leo Naranjo IV, candidate for governor. I'm going to post this up because I really want you folks out there to think about this. Who would you align yourself with between David and Goliath? Leo Naranjo IV, candidate for governor, 2026 in the race. It's a crappy day, but the sun is going to come out sooner or later. We'll talk to you guys later. God bless you all. Have a great and wonderful afternoon.